It's the end of March. That means the Dubai World Cup is upon us. The Dubai World Cup going to be run this Saturday morning. A lot of good races on that Dubai card at Meydan. But of course, Dubai World Cup, the final race being run. And the best way to bet it? Oh yeah, you got it right. Bet it through NYRA Bets. And if you're not a member of NYRA Bets, and why aren't you a member of NYRA Bets? Bet 200, get 200. A new member bonus. Use SPRING19. Head to NYRABets.com for more information on the many great things NYRA Bets has to offer. Last year's Dubai World Cup winner, a smashing success for Thunder Snow, who continued to run some decent races in this country, and we'll talk about that a bit later. Thunder Snow took advantage of two things, a super gold rail and a super slow pace to bury a field. West Coast, the big favorite going in, did not do much running. He didn't do much running after that when he finally came back to race. Can Thunder Snow catch lightning in a bottle again? I don't know. I'm a little bit dubious. Now, we're going to talk about his prep race in a moment. In fact, we can go right to that because it also involves a horse who could be one of the favorites, Capizano. Capizano wired him last time, but Capizano draws post 2, and Thunder Snow has the outside post, post 12, not the far outside, but one of the outside posts. And last time he tried to chase him outside. The track may have been kind inside runners. I believe we've had kind of a bias there, a bit of their races, but Capizano took advantage of it, and why won't he take advantage of it again? Thunder Snow's going to have to deal with Capizano towards the front end, something he didn't have to do last time, and still be able to run him down. Now, the reality is, and we'll talk about this, we talk about a few more horses. He ran well in our Gold Cup, and he ran well in the Breeders' Cup Classic. So he doesn't need the lead to win, and you could argue that race we showed was just a prep. So I wouldn't want to totally leave Thunder Snow out, but I think he's a bit of an underlay off his big win last year. Now, Capizano, I've got him second because I'm afraid it's going to be a big inside track again. And those horses over there, they may have an advantage because the U.S. contingency, while it's big in size, they're not that good. And Capizano's a threat if the track is playing very kindly towards inside runners to wire this field. So I would use Capizano at least offensively in here. He was very impressive in that race. What bothers me, though, is last year he ran poorly in the Godolphin Mile. Is he a 5-year-old that's just coming to life? Perhaps that's the case. We shall find out. I do believe he may be in some ways the one to beat. But let's talk about some other U.S. horses in conjunction with Thunder Snow by going back to the Breeders' Cup Classic at Churchill. Gunnevera, who drew very well to get the rail here, but not knocking his rider Jaramillo, but he's no Irad Ortiz, and Irad Ortiz gave Gunnevera about as good a ride as you can give a horse. Now, I'm not knocking the ride that Yoshida got in there from Jose Ortiz, but Yoshida circled around the field while Gunnevera saved ground and came out. So while Gunnevera finished ahead of Yoshida, there's an argument Yoshida's the one that ran the better race. I think, though, that Gunnevera in some ways is more suited to the mile and a quarter, and he has a good inside post, but it'll be a shorter price than Yoshida. Both of these horses have a chance. I'm not thrilled with either one. I do want to point out, though, you could argue the one who ran the best race of any of them was Thunder Snow because he was attending the pace, which was pretty quick. The others were picking up pieces at the end. I think Thunder Snow ran well, and that's one of the reasons I won't be shocked when he runs well in this Dubai World Cup. They're all in similar places. None of them are really that good, and we'll show you Yoshida beating Gunnevera up in Saratoga. And Yoshida got an absolute dream trip this day. This was a fast pace that collapsed. The horses that ran well out of the woodward, and there were quite a few, were ones who were forwardly placed. But Yoshida took advantage of that, and he just got an excellent ride in this race from Joel Rosario, moving inside out. Now, Gunnevera, he was a little bit wider. He didn't have a particularly bad trip, but once again, you see, when the trips were comparable, Yoshida was better than Gunnevera. Some could argue that Gunnevera could benefit from a mile and a quarter more than Yoshida. Obviously, the fast track because he didn't handle it in the Pegasus. That's a fair argument. Once again, I think I'm just reiterating a point. They're on a very similar plane. Let's talk about some other U.S. horses first before we go to some videos. I want to talk about Seeking the Soul. I like Seeking the Soul. I'd love to see Dallas Stewart do well. If he wins this race in a mile and a quarter, they may have to get smelling salts to revive me. I think he's more of a miler that was effective in a mile and eighth last time because he got the right trips and others didn't. He was a distant second in that Pegasus behind the runaway winner, City of Light. I don't see him winning in a mile and a quarter. I think Axelrod's a neat horse, but you can't like the race that he ran over and made on, and I don't know if he's a mile and a quarter horse against this competition. Of course, Gronkowski's over there. Good luck to him ever running back to that performance in the Belmont Stakes. But let's talk about a horse who's a crazy morning line favorite in North America. I think there's a better chance that I'll be doing some 360 dunks than North America is favored in this race. Now, he was a Facile winner at a mile and 3/16 and one of the challenges of this race, but I'm not sure that New Trails, who wasn't catching him, who's 30 to 1 on the line, isn't a horse I'd want to follow as much as him. Now, North America, he had a big win the race before that. Don't know what he was beating, but I also know that he ran very well in the challenge races last year before finishing 10th, beating 51 lengths in the Dubai World Cup. So I'm wondering if he's a horse who's run well in these preps, and he's dubious to repeat those performances in the big one. He's also a 7-year-old. I don't think he'll be the favorite, but if he's the morning line favorite, I'll wish that I was a bookmaker. Let's talk about everybody's favorite horse, everybody but me, that is, Audible. I don't want to knock Audible. He's a nice horse. Here he is winning the Florida Derby last year. But I think it's important to point out, and that's not justified, even though they're the same colors. When Audible has run well, he's had circumstance very much in his favor. And this was a race that flattered Hofburg and fooled a lot of people thinking he was a better horse than he was as well. It was a suicidal pace that just completely fell apart, and Audible took advantage of it. His Kentucky Derby, well, he's the only horse that closed in a race with a monstrous pace. He didn't run badly, but he didn't really do much running. And he came back to the layoff, did what he had to win that race at Churchill. He lost an inexcusable race on a sloppy sealed track. And it was a wreck where they got a ton of rain right before the Harlan's Holiday, so I don't want to be too tough on him. Total no-show on the sloppy sealed track in the Pegasus. But once again, 2 sloppy sealed tracks at Gulfstream. He does deserve a chance to show what he can do against these horses and against our handicap division, which, let's be honest, not that strong this year. I just don't see it because I don't see his fast race. So if he runs a race fast enough to win this, he's going to do it running faster than he's ever run before. And even though he's 12 to 1 on the line, he's the kind of American darling that in our pools, I think, will be a bit overbet. And let's go to a horse that I'm sure everybody is sick and tired of me talking about, and I can't blame them because I've picked him a few times and he hasn't run particularly well. But let's talk about Pavel, and we'll talk about the good Pavel winning the Stephen Foster at Churchill. When Pavel's good, he's good enough to be a contender here. And I do want to remind people that he ran extremely well in this race last year when 4th, because his rider, Mario Gutierrez, had him out in the middle of the racetrack the entire time around the track on a day when the rail was gold. So he has run well in the past. There is an absolute argument because he didn't really have an excuse in the Breeders' Cup Classic. He was in reasonable position, and when he steadied on the turn, he was dead empty. And then they shipped from Japan. He didn't run well in the slop last time. But a lot of us have often said, I wouldn't mind seeing a rider change on Pavel, and I'm sure I'm not the only one saying that. Maybe the only one up here dumb enough to have lost as much money on Pavel as I have. But here's my point in this race. I've gone through all these horses. None of them appeal to me at their prices. None of them do a lot for me. And Pavel is getting a switch to Joel Rosario, who is a big-time rider, as good a rider as you're going to find in the country. And I love this rider switch, and he's going to be 20 to 1. So why shouldn't I bet on Pavel? I understand. I have my reservations as well. But I'm willing to take a chance one time at this rider switch because he's the only horse I can bet in this race. And I'm not going to sit up here and tell you to bet horses I'm not willing to bet. So I'm taking Pavel on top in Dubai World Cup. Taking him over the number 2 Capizano, the 12 Thunder Snow, and the 10 Yoshida. But a couple dollars on Pavel will be my play in this Dubai World Cup. And you know how I'm going to be playing it? I'm going to be playing it through NyraBets. Head on over to NyraBets.com. If you're not a member, bet 200, get 200. The new member bonus, promo code is SPRING19. Enjoy the Dubai World Cup this Saturday at Meydan.